Time to go drag racing here on Eurosport, and round 18 out of the 22 events sees a total prize fund of nearly $1.5 million on offer. It's the 9th annual Sears Craftsman Nationals from Topeka, Kansas, and we'll start off with the action and the Pro Stock category. And let's start off with Mark Osborne on the left-hand side up against Scott Geoffrion in the Dodge on the right-hand side. Away they go, and Mark Osborne nearest the camera with the red Pontiac, but it looks as though the win has gone to Osborne with a 7.03 second elapsed time, 195 miles per hour. Alan Johnson next up in the Amato Dodge, up against Bruce Allen in the Slick 50 Pontiac. Bruce Allen, the 47-year-old Texan, trying to take this one, but it's a very close run thing. It's Alan Johnson who wins it. 7.07 seconds, just 4/100 slower than our previous run for Mark Osborne. Osborne, in fact, has been the fastest qualifier at 7.02 coming into this competition. Remember, the Pro Stocks burn normal petrol. They use carburetor-fed engines. They're highly modified showroom cars, still have to weigh 2,350 pounds. We're watching Jim Yates versus Larry Morgan here. Jim Yates in the McDonald's car. Yates, who's had such a strong season this year, he wins it at 7.03 seconds, 195 miles per hour, identical, in fact, to Mark Osborne's win. Mike Edwards is in the next one. He puts Kurt Johnson out in the first round. That was a bit of a surprise. George Marnell is up against him in the Pontiac, man from Las Vegas, and the second fastest ever Pro Stock driver. Well, in fact, it's an easy win for Edwards on this one. Problems for George Marnell. Edwards wins 7.07 seconds, 194 miles per hour. So into the final four, it's going to be Mark Osborne up against Mike Edwards, and it'll be Jim Yates versus Alan Johnson. The semi-finals then of the Pro Stock competition, and Mark Osborne nearest the camera up against Mike Edwards on the far side. This for opposition in the final. Osborne, remember, fastest qualifier so far, did a 7.03 in the last round, but Mike Edwards did a 7.07. Very little to choose between these two. Great reaction from Edwards, a 0.421. You can see half as quick again almost as Osborne, and it's Edwards who wins it, 7.08 seconds, and that reaction time really the reason for his passage through to the final. Jim Yates versus Alan Johnson next up. Alan Johnson and Jim Yates, who's already taken 6 victories so far in the Winston Championship, looks set to take the title. But we're now going to see if Jim Yates can get into the final up against Alan Johnson. Yates looking forward. A great reaction again from Yates. It's a close run thing, but Jim Yates does it. Just snatches it, 7.01. Fastest time of the day so far. Yates 195 miles per hour. So that sets things up nicely for the final now. Jim Yates in the McDonald's car, nearest the camera, going for win number 7 this season, and he's up against Mike Edwards, who's just hoping that he can match the reigning champion. Yates gets the heat into the tyres, smokes those rears. Mike Edwards similarly burns some rubber. Now remember, these machines very different to the funny cars. These are much more like proper cars, running with steel bodywork, still producing prodigious amounts of power, but the funny cars and top fuelers still to come from this 18th round of the NHRA drag racing season. This is the final for the Pro Stocks then. Mike Edwards moves back into position, but has he got what it takes to beat Jim Yates, who really has been the master the last couple of years? The reigning champion, Yates, took 8 wins in 1996. If he wins here, it will be win number 7 in 1997, a very similar record for him. So, all set to go. Watch the Christmas tree in the centre. The lights, which come on in sequence, to get the Pro Stock final underway. And it's a close run thing at the start. Edwards seems to have the slight advantage in the white car, but as they come up the strip, Yates comes back at him. Oh, and Jim Yates just snatches it on the line by 0.017 seconds. A tremendous run from Jim Yates. He wins it 7.02 seconds, 195 miles per hour. And that 7th win of the year means that Jim Yates is almost champion. He doesn't need many more points now from the remaining rounds to make sure of his 2nd successive Pro Stock title. Just look how close it was at the line though. Virtually nothing in it. Yates just snatching it. And the team weren't quite sure right up to the end.
They're doing a great job over there, but I don't think anybody can run with this McDonald's Dynamax Pontiac right now. Jerry Bickle, Bob Ingalls, Rich Purdy, Jamie Yates, everybody did a great job.
So Jim Yates wins again. And looking at the points, you can see he's pretty well ahead with just 3 more rounds of the series to go. Warren Johnson not having such a good run this time. Kurt Johnson put out in the 1st round as well. A chance to have a little look around at some of the other machinery on the scene here at the Sears Craftsman Nationals. As well as the Pro Stock car category, there's a category for the Pro Stock trucks. In fact, the lineup for the final of the Pro Stock trucks. Scott Jeffrian in this one up against Mike Haas. And Scott Jeffrian, who we also saw in the Pro Stock category itself. This was the final in this particular category, the Pro Stock trucks. And Jeffrian on the far side, Mike Haas nearest the camera. The battle to be done between these two. In it in terms of reaction time, although look at that, 0.345 reaction time for the near lane. Across they go, but in fact it was too quick. Haas fouled, it was a jump start, and therefore Jeffrian wins it in his time of 7.8 seconds, 171 miles an hour. And Mike Haas has to rue the fact that he jumped the start. This is the final of the Pro Stock bikes category with the world's fastest lady biker, Angel Seeling. Angel Seeling already a winner on the Pro Stock bike trail, up against Matt Hines, the leader of the championship. And in fact, Matt Hines, by getting through to the final here, has wrapped up the Pro Stock bike championship, the first champion of the Winston Cup season. But can he beat Angel Seeling in this final here in Kansas? Sears Craftsman Nationals, the 2nd event of the year to be held at Topeka. Angel Seeling just would love to take her 2nd career victory at this one. She's on the far side. Nearest the camera is the man who's already wrapped up the championship, but it looks as though it's the lady who takes the win this time. Angel Seeling takes the victory, 7.399 or 7.435 in fact her time, but she is the winner. Angel Seeling, 178 miles per hour on that machine, and she does indeed take her 2nd career victory. We'll be back with the funny cars and the top fuelers for the Sears Craftsman Nationals, and we're going to move on to the final 8 of the funny car competition now. These short wheelbase super machines, 5,500 brake horsepower, nitromethane, fuel supercharged V8 engines, the engine mounted ahead of the driver in the funny car category. And we've got Dean Scusa versus Randy Anderson in this first contest between the two of them. And it's a win for Anderson, 4.96 seconds, 305 miles per hour in the Parts America Pontiac Firebird. Next up, Del Worsham versus Tony Pedregan. Worsham in the Dodge, Pedregan in the Ford Mustang. And away they go. Tony Pedregan, who's had wins this year. The last one was in Houston. Problems there for the man he's up against, though, Del Worsham. So Pedregan comes through with a 4.98 and goes through cleanly into the final four. John Force is next up, the man to beat this year. Force in the Castrol Ford Mustang up against Chuck Etchells in the Dodge Avenger. John Force on the near lane gets it a little bit out of shape at the start, but he still comes through to win it. So Force wins at 4.95 seconds, held on beautifully there, 298 miles per hour. Just watch that again. You could see John Force nearest the camera just getting it a bit out of shape, but he managed to get it all under control once again. And Chuck Etchells could not quite match the man who's in such good form. Next up then, Whit Bazemore. Bazemore is John Force's only real rival in the championship now, although Force still with quite a comfortable lead. Ron Capps in the Camaro is up against him, and it is Bazemore who comes through to take the win, 5.06, fraction slower than John Force in that last round. 302 miles per hour though. So the final four, Force versus Pedregon and Bazemore versus Anderson. So getting ready for the semi-finals, Whit Bazemore up against Randy Anderson. Bazemore, remember, really needs to get a win here today if he's to try and keep John Force under pressure for the title itself. Bazemore up on the far side. And away they go with the onboard view as well as they streak to over 300 miles an hour. Bazemore's in trouble, really smoked the rears there. And it's Randy Anderson who comes through to win it, 5.06 seconds. And Anderson goes through to the final. Bazemore not able to do that. So John Force will be happy about that in the Castrol car nearest the camera. Chance for him to go through to the final and score more points over Bazemore once again. John Force is up against Tony Pedregon in this one. Both the Castrol cars, in fact. Away they go, blasting up the quarter-mile drag strip, and John Force takes it by 0.008 seconds. A 4.94 second run for the man leading the series. Great competition though between the two of them. And now it sets things up nicely for the final. Randy Anderson in the Parts America car up against John Force. Force already a many-time winner on the trail this year. His last victory coming in the Reading event. But he really has once again been the man to beat this year. Final preparations made to these incredible machines, these V8 nitromethane powered supercharged engines, 5,500 brake horsepower. Incredible amount of power. They just blast these machines 0 to 100 in under a second, and 300 miles an hour by the end of the quarter mile. 300 miles an hour in under 5 seconds. Just astonishing performance from the funny cars. But who's it going to be? Who's going to win this event? At Topeka, round 18 of the series. Force, oh, and it's a problem on the far side. So John Force has a fairly easy ride of it in the end. 4.98 second run, not the fastest that we've seen, but John Force didn't need to worry about it because Anderson was soon in trouble, and that means John Force takes another win and almost ensures himself of the funny car title for 1997. Anderson smoked it, the engine let go, and there was nothing he could do about Force taking victory.
Great day for Mustang, trying to prove this car what it'll do, and Castrol and Syntec and all the sponsors at home out there that are watching that we love. Want you to know we're working real hard as a team, and we're going to be okay. But Mac Tool in action and all these guys, Castrol, we love you. Bram Autolite, I want to say to my mama, your old son ain't dead yet. She's sitting by the TV. I talked to her just a while ago. She said, I still love you. You're just fat and old. Can't help it.
So very happy John Force. Might be fat and old according to his mum, but he's still leading the championship and has almost ramped it up now. Drag racing now, the Sears Craftsman Nationals, and we're into the top fuelers now, the real top category of drag racing. The quickest accelerating machines on earth, and we're starting off in the second round with Bruce Sava versus Tony Schumacher. A great name, no relation, but he doesn't get much luck in this one. Tony Schumacher has about as much luck as Michael's been having in recent races, and Bruce Sava comes through to win at 4.71 seconds, 310 miles per hour. Kenny Bernstein next up, the champion last year, the top fueler champion last year, up against the 30-year-old Californian Larry Dixon. Both in the McKinney chassis, and it's Bernstein who comes through to take the win, 4.67 miles per hour. That's getting close to the track record here, which is 4.605, which Kenny himself holds. Next up, Bob Vandergriff and Gary Scelzi. Gary Scelzi, who's been running so on in the championship, although just recently he's been into a bit of a poor run. He really needs a good result here, Scelzi, to get his championship back on trail. Great run there, 4.72 seconds. Not as fast as Bernstein, but a good run nonetheless. Next up, Joe Amato, winner of 5 top fuel championships in his career, and up against Shelley Anderson in this second round. Blast off time, and in just under 5 seconds, it's across the line at over 300 miles an hour. In fact, exactly 300 miles an hour for Joe Amato, who wins that contest at 4.68 seconds. So that means the final four sees Gary Scelzi versus Kenny Bernstein, and Joe Amato is up against Bruce Sava. Those two haven't met already this year, so it'll be an interesting contest. So the crowd enjoying a tremendous tussle. Let's get into the semi-finals then. Joe Amato, who's having a good season, up against Bruce Sava to start things off. Amato did a 4.68 run, remember? Bruce Sava won at 4.71 when he took Tony Schumacher out of the competition. Oh, no, 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 it all goes wrong for Bruce Sava, and it is Joe Amato who wins it, 4.64 seconds, 314 miles per hour for the veteran campaigner. But we got other veterans out there, Kenny Bernstein and Gary Scelzi. Scelzi's made it through to the semi-final this time. Corey McLenathan, his main rival in the championship, who's been having such a good run in recent events, didn't even make it out of the first round. He blew up in the first round, so McLenathan getting a bit of the luck that's been suffered by Gary Scelzi recently. Crossed the line, nothing to choose, but just a win to Kenny Bernstein. So Bernstein goes through. Scelzi doesn't make it through to the final, but it's still a more fortunate run this time than he's had in recent times, and Scelzi at the top of the championship table. So into the grand final now, Joe Amato versus Kenny Bernstein. These two running in 3rd and 5th places in the championship. Joe Amato's had 4 wins so far this season. Scelzi also on 4 wins. Corey McLenathan on 5 wins. It's been a great battle in the championship between those three particularly. Kenny Bernstein only 1 victory so far this year though. There's Amato. Can he make it win number 5 and match Corey McLenathan for number of victories so far this year? Kenny Bernstein would love to take the win here. 5th place in the series at the moment. Be useful batch of points. Also interesting for Kenny Bernstein. He's got a new crew chief, Lee Baird, replacing Dale Armstrong. And it's a close run thing, and it's just Kenny Bernstein who wins it. So his new crew chief, only his 2nd event with Kenny, and they've come through to take the win. Great performance. And Dale Armstrong, who's been working with him for 16 years, now back home. He will be delighted to see his man take the victory here in the Sears Craftsman Nationals. Kenny Bernstein on the far side, just a slightly better reaction, and got away initially slightly better than Joe Amato nearest the camera, but it was such a close run thing all the way to the line. Bernstein on the far side, Amato on the near side, and Bernstein just snatching it. But what a brilliant performance, and great for the team with Lee Baird now their crew chief, and they take a win already.
That's great news, Steve. Thanks for everybody. Lee Baird, Ray Alley, the whole Budweiser King team, Prolong Maxwell's Hooters. These guys are great. But especially St. Louis, we appreciate everything you do for us. It's great. Believe me, this is a long time coming. It's just nice to be back here. And I don't want to forget my good buddy Dale Armstrong either, because he's the one that got us here for a long time.
I didn't forget him. I talked about him earlier. He was rooting this red car home, and he's jumping up and down in his living room right now.
I know he is, and he's the greatest, and I wish him the best of luck over Perdone's. But hey, Dale, we'll have to fight you next year, I guess.
But some new chemistry has certainly worked here for Kenny Bernstein, Bob.
So great performance for Lee Baird, the new crew chief for Kenny Bernstein. And after just one win in April, that puts him back up again. But Gary Selzy still leads the championship. Corey McLenathan not having such a good run here in Kansas. We'll be keeping track of the NHRA drag racing scene throughout the year. Watch it on Eurosport.